Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome to Hildebrand Law Firm's topic for today.
I'm Kirsten Hildebrand,
I'm Matt Kaplan.
and today's topic is really important because it has to do with your stuff. And so the question is, how is it that we put together a really important document called the Power of Attorney for Financial Matters? Now, when I think about this, the first word that sticks out to me is attorney. Well, what does that mean? Because I thought that in order to be an attorney, you had to go to law school. But in fact, that is not the case. You can legally be called or have the powers of attorney when you step into the shoes of someone else legally and make their decisions for them.
Interesting. So, I think the reason you're bringing this up, Kirsten, it sounds like that, I can't make a decision for myself. Decisions, actions, things need to be done. If I can't do it for myself, why can't my spouse just do it for me automatically? Why can't my son, my daughter, why can't my parents just do it for me automatically? Why do I even need one of these documents in place?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And the answer is because everything's getting more complicated. It used to be probably that you could 100 years ago roll into the local bank and it would be in the same town where your entire extended family lives, and you would know the banker personally. Maybe his sister was married to your father's wife or something like that, and then you were able to actually just have a conversation and there would be an understanding of what would be happening with someone's finances. That is so far away from the world in which we live in at this point in time. And so the question is, how is it that we craft a power of attorney for finances that is going to be appropriate to your situation?
Sure. And so I guess what I'm having a hard time understanding, Kirsten, is, I'm in my 30s. I'm going to be fine. Nothing bad is ever going to happen to me. This is not from me. This is from all my clients in their 30s. So keep in mind, nothing bad's ever going to happen to me. Why do I need someone to have this document? I'll probably just go on throughout life. I'll be 99, 100 years old, and then I'll just die. Isn't that how it works?
Well, I wish that is the way it worked, but unfortunately, sometimes I feel like this conference room where we meet with our clients is really a hospital room because of all of the emergencies that we have. So, Matt, what are some of the problems that you see with people trying to put together powers of attorney for finances?
So the biggest problem that I see are people who say, Matt, I already got this done. I went online or I went on LegalZoom and it was free. The state of Wisconsin gives me one for free. So I just printed that offline, signed it, had my two kids witness it. Everything's all good, right? And
That
so,
does remind me of a story where we had a client who came in, and it was actually the daughter of a mother. And the daughter was absolutely convinced that she had a power of attorney for her mother. And she actually had put the house on the market, mom's house on the market, and it was about ready to close. And the title company all of a sudden was saying, "You don't have the power to sell this house." And so she was up in arms. This daughter comes into this conference room and says, "What's wrong with this power of attorney?" Well, I took one look at it and I realized that the power of attorney was solely for the benefit of the bank. So the bank had the ability to have the daughter sign checks and do banking at that particular bank for mom. But it absolutely did not extend to any of the other issues that mom might have.
and that's the big issue that I see with a lot of powers of attorneys. This one happens to be specific to the bank, but I see a lot of powers of attorneys that don't go nearly as far as they need to go. The statute in the state of Wisconsin, especially in whatever state that you're in, the statute is going to have a whole slew of things to include on your power of attorney. It's going to say include this about real estate, this about personal property, this about other things. And so, what some powers of attorney do is they just say, okay, point to the statute, signature page, call it a day. Sometimes that's okay. Most of the times that's not good enough. Because what the statute also says is that if you don't include these specific things, you can't just point to the statute. These specific things have to be enumerated. So, what we've done and what we decided to do based on this, and also based on our robust litigation practice in which we see these issues in real life, we decided to take 18 pages and to just list out every little thing your power of attorney can do, whether they're ever going to do it or not. We have a section on borrow and encumber. Most people don't know what that means. I didn't know what that meant a year ago. I don't borrow and encumber. I'm in my 30s. No idea what that means. But we have it in there because you never know. We have a section on digital property. Most of our clients are in their 80s. They still use the mail. Some of them don't even have cell phones. They're not going to have any digital property. I don't care. You never know. So we erred on the side of including everything because the big problem that we see with some powers of attorney is that they don't have what we need them to have when the you know what hits the fan, and we need to rely on them.
And so, for example, think about maybe a loved one that you have. And I'll take the example of my own mom because we just went through this very recently with her. So the power of attorney was required for me in order to sell her house. So thank goodness there was something in there that passed the underwriters at the title company and made sure that I could, on her behalf, sell her house. Then there's the bank. Then there's all of the credit card companies. Then there's all of the investments and dealing with the financial advisor. And then there is the other elements related to bill paying. So all of those different duties that naturally happen when you may be trying to assist a loved one in moving forward towards the progression of tying things up, that it's just so essential to have these things in place. Because what happens if you don't have enough powers in place is that you're hand tied, and now all of a sudden, where do you go to get those powers? Well, you can't get someone who is already under distress to sign documents. There are lots of legal problems with that. And so you can't necessarily assume that you're going to be able to get certain documents signed after a point in time. And so making sure that you're having those preparations in place is really essential.
And so, what's interesting too, Kirsten, is that I just talked about how some powers of attorney don't go far enough. A big problem I see, almost a bigger problem, is that some go too far. And some go too far in the sense of they give you all of this power, but no instructions, no limitations. You have kids. I don't have any kids, but you have kids that one day got a driver's license and went driving. When you gave them the keys for the first time, did you just say, here's the keys, have fun. I don't really care what happens next? Of course not. No, you gave them the keys and you said, no more than two friends in the car, be home by 9 o'clock, no drinking and driving, no doing drugs, no going to parties. You gave them all of these rules. So think of that as your power of attorney. You give them the keys to do what needs to get done for you, but you give them a set of instructions or a set of rules that says, I'm going to give you all this power, but I'm going to rein it in a little bit, because you don't want to give someone just all access to everything without telling them exactly what you want.
And a lot of times we will see powers of attorney for finances come in, and those powers have been given immediately. And the person who's sitting in front of us did not even know that. They don't know that you can put restrictions on when, where, and how those powers are put into place. And so, for those reasons, it is really essential to have this legal document drafted by good attorneys who understand what the impact of the language is that's in those documents. And I think that we in this modern world have so many words flying in so many different places that we start to think that the words don't have impact. But in our legal world, Every word has really important meaning. And so, because of that, you have to look at the details of the document and you have to have a very clear understanding as to what is and is not in there. So I think that's good for wrapping it up for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you next time when we keep on working on helping you protect yourself today and tomorrow.